Hey everyone, my name is Casey Bell and I'm here today to discuss my online course. Part of my voice, I came down with a really bad cold the past few days, so I hope you can all bear with me and at least understand some of what I'm saying. So I chose to do my first online course with a military science course, more specifically Military Science 300, which is a junior level course that I'll be teaching next fall at West Point, the United States Military Academy. Now, I chose this course because it's going to be something I'll be doing. It is going to be a tougher one to do online, but I think with the modules I've chosen, it is very doable to make this an online course. Obviously, recognizing the fact that there will be tactical and field application, post this course. So this course is very similar to a course that your typical ROTC cadets in state institutions would take their junior years. So to clarify for my audience, the students I've geared this for are your typical junior cadets at West Point. Now, this is a big year for our cadets because this is the last real military assignment, military science course they have prior to choosing their future branch or profession. So again, the course I'll be covering today is MS300/platoon operations. So if you look on your screen, this is the full definition straight out of the book of what military science is. But basically, military science is a very interdisciplinary field combining knowledge of humanities, natural sciences, as well as applied sciences and engineering. Now, this course, MS300, is basically their penultimate event of their college career at West Point. MS400 is a class they'll take their senior year, but it's more basically on how to be an officer. It's called officership. But this is the class where they're going to learn MS300, I mean, this is the class where they're going to learn the most about tactics, employment of certain weapon systems, how to lead troops, how to give an operations order. So this is a very, very crucial year in their development as Army officers. So what is this course about? As I discussed earlier, it's very all-encompassing. It's talking military language, planning processes, communication. How does this course fit into student development, military development? Establishes skill sets needed for capstone training exercise, which we discussed earlier, is in the training and field environment. As you look here, basically these are the steps as you go from graduating from high school. You'll go immediately to West Point's prep school or West Point itself, and you'll begin cadet basic training. So you'll get some very, very, very simple field training. Then your fall semester starts of your freshman year. That is when you'll take MS100. Very, very simple stuff. There's not a lot to it. Just basically operational terms and graphics and just understanding the basics of the Army, rank structure, stuff like that. Following your freshman year, the summer, you'll go into cadet field training. This is when you start applying some of those things you learned in the field. Once that summer is over, you're back to school in the fall again. You're taking MS200, and that's where you start kind of building the pieces and the building blocks towards MS300. Once you're done with MS200, again, you go back to the field for the summer. So these kids don't get a lot of time to go home during the summer like most traditional students. So once you're done with the field training that summer, you'll get about 2 weeks off, and then you'll be, boom, right into fall MS300, and that's where we're at right here. As you can see, we are here at MS300. Within 6 to 9 months, you'll be at the picture below, actually briefing an order to a large group of people and actually understanding what you're saying. So it's kind of a big moment in their young career. So here is an actual syllabus that I'm building right now for next fall's semester. Granted, it will not be an online course, but I kind of alter some things here to make it more online friendly. Specifically, the module that I'll be discussing here shortly. But the syllabus is a 30-week program. It starts off with a typical introduction. Then you go down the gamut of military tactics and techniques that these kids need to learn. Mission analysis, enemy analysis, movement, patrolling and direct fire coordination, indirect fire coordination, ambush, offensive terrain walks, a ton of practical in-person practical exercises, staff rides where you'll bring the kids out or the cadets out to old battlegrounds and talk through the battle, how it went, so they start to appropriately understand the context of what they're learning. Terrain walks, defense simulations. We use a lot of automation, a lot of simulation with these kids. And then towards the end of MS300, you get into where you start briefing orders. So you're coming up with a coherent plan that you can properly distribute to your soon-to-be soldiers once you are commissioned from the United States Military Academy. But this progression, you basically start them over from scratch. Week one, introductions, go over the basics, and then you start to get more and more advanced as you go through. with the ultimate event being you're briefing an operations order, and then you're actually executing it with other cadets. So as you can see, this is the final 5 weeks of the syllabus for MS300. A total of 30 weeks, both the fall and spring semester. As you can see throughout, there is a ton of reading. These young cadets have to do a lot of reading in their normal education, but then on top of that, we throw this military science course on them, which has a ton of doctrinal reading, both field manuals and Army regulations, and everything you could think of to get them prepared to be leading people into combat in a very short period of time. So as you can see, it's a 30-week program, very in-depth. They come out of their junior year having a very, very good basket of knowledge to go into their senior year, where they will be preparing to commission, branch into the new profession, and then move on to the real world, and then actually lead our young soldiers. So there you go. So I chose week 17 or module 17 to discuss today. Week 17 is going to cover defensive foundations and engagement area development. The purpose of this week's lesson is to discuss the idea behind a defense in depth. That purpose is to manage risk with diverse defensive strategies, so if one layer of defense turns out to be inadequate, another layer of defense will hopefully prevent a full breach. The way we're going to do this going forward is we're going to have pre-designated readings, videos, and that will lead to a class discussion and a back brief by the cadets during the online class. So in the week leading up to this module, I will give the cadets assignments to prepare for our online discussion. The assignments will give the cadets appropriate context on what a good and bad defense in depth is. The video will give the cadets a good perspective prior to their reading to give them a much better understanding and the ability for them to visualize what a defense in depth is. I will then have the cadets post a short mission brief on how they would employ all the applicable assets that a light infantry platoon has in a platoon area defense within a pre-designated location. I will then have the cadets actually critique each other throughout the week in preparation for our discussion during our online course. So what I gave them here is 2 videos, one a good and one a bad example of a defense in depth. One is a quick clip from the movie The Pacific, and that's a very good defense in depth. And then I gave them another clip from The Band of Brothers, which is a short, I wouldn't call a great defense in depth. These videos will give context and a great example for the students to watch prior to their reading. Now for the reading, they're strictly reading doctrine. The first reading I gave them is ATP 3-21.8, also known as the Infantryman's Bible, discussing defense in depth. ATP 3-90, chapter 3-13. This discusses both offense and defense. And then the Ranger Handbook, which I hold near and dear to my heart, chapter 7, strictly a squad and platoon defense. Now this will all lead up to their discussion board, which they will post a defensive operations order for a platoon level area defense. And then they will, as I discussed, they'll critique each other's decision making on the discussion board and be prepared to discuss why they allocated their personnel and assets the way they did. So at the end of week 17/module 17, each cadet will propose /brief how they will conduct their platoon defense in depth. Now we talked it during the week during discussion boards. Each cadet gave their generalized critique, but this week we're going to get more in depth with our critiques and actually explain why we thought this worked well or this would not work well. So we're going to listen to the briefs and provide feedback on the proposed plans and work together to provide everyone with a clear understanding of how to best employ their assets and personnel. And then the key takeaway is the cadets actually get up online and brief via Skype their proposed plans, and the fellow cadets provide actual real-time feedback. I think this is going to be a great discussion to have. At the end of the discussion, I will provide a to the standard defensive operations brief and explain my thoughts in regards to the appropriate deployment of forces, and obviously take questions and explain to them why I chose to do what I did. And I think this all around will be a great 60-minute to 70-minute discussion with the cadets. So now we're going to talk about the skills that are built during this course. So what will this course do for the students? One, it's going to re-emphasize military tactical and technical language from prior courses, talking MS100, MS200, and the field exercises that they conduct during the summer. Two, it's going to increase students' military tactical and technical knowledge. Three, allow students to analyze and develop tactical solutions for contemporary operational problems. This is a big one here. Four, discuss common operational planning processes. 5, refine student planning skills through tactical scenarios. And 6, really key, being able to properly communicate an operational plan. So how am I going to approach the material? So basically, language and processes based on U.S. Army doctrine that we discussed throughout the last 10 minutes. I'm going to employ studies of battles and leaders from across U.S. and world military experiences, like the staff rides we talked about, specifically World War II, Vietnam, Korean War, the recent wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, and then an emphasis on moral conduct within combat operations. So that's the end of my online course for MS300 / Defensive Foundations and Engagement Area Development. At the end of this course, more specifically the entire course of MS300, students completing it will be directly responsible for tactical problems that have strategic implications. I think we all know how important the job that these young men and women have once they graduate from the United States Military Academy, and I truly am humbled to be able to teach these young cadets. And I'm looking forward to bringing everything I've learned here in this course, more specifically, but at Teachers College, Columbia, as a whole. And I'm really excited for that opportunity. So thanks for everybody for your time. And again, I apologize for my terrible narration skills.